I am more of a casual fan than I am some high paid pundit that some folks can turn to and go, well, he's a complete expert on this. No, I'm a redneck stating my opinion. And yes, I like the WNBA because it allows certain players that I like to get a chance to play professionally. Candace Parker had a long career in the WNBA. I'm a Tennessee fan through and through. So Candace Parker is someone who I find to be an amazing basketball player. And so I started watching the LA Sparks because of her. And I'm more of an LA Sparks fan than I am a Fever fan. But let me tell you something. What I have seen when it comes to Caitlin Clark, what I have seen with what the Fever can do, I see that as a need for the WNBA to quit trying to be a league that is set up for insiders. I'm tired of the politics. Yes, I have a political channel, but sports is supposed to be something that people can turn on and just enjoy. On the same day that I watched the last Fever game, I also watched the Indiana Pacers, of whom has a front office employee who I would probably just go speechless for a few minutes, even though people know that I can run my mouth, and that is Larry Legend, the hick from French Lick. Larry Bird is somebody that, I grew up watching. And when I was a kid, 80% of the folks that weren't watching or weren't part of a major city that had an NBA team, they were either a Celtics fan or they were a Lakers fan. And so to do that, they needed to, that's what got them to not have tape delay finals. That's what got them to being the league that could pay Magic Johnson $1 million every year for 25 years. That was his contract. That was a big deal back then. Well, the WNBA needs to embrace that they have gotten a team that is getting noticed. They need to embrace that, but they're not because of inside politics, and that's bad. So let's discuss this a little bit.
Hey folks, this is Paul with Redneck Sports. I want to thank you for viewing my video, and I want to give you one thought process. There was a famous coach at the University of Tennessee by the name of General Robert Nealon. He had 6 maxims, but number 2 maxim is what everybody should apply to their life. Play for and make the breaks. When one comes your way, score. That's how to live your life right there.
Before I do anything else, to all the new people that have subscribed to my channel, thank you. I am in awe that people are paying attention to what this backwoods redneck from East Tennessee has to say about a game that he loves. The reason why I love women's basketball, and it's not pro basketball, it's women's basketball, is because I grew up watching University of Tennessee Lady Volunteers coached by Pat Head Summit. The first major sporting event that I ever watched in my life that I can remember was the 1984 Olympics. And on top of Mary Lou Retton, which caused me to fall in love with women's gymnastics, I fell in love with track and field because of Carl Lewis. You had a men's basketball team that had Michael Jordan, Patrick Ewing, and so many other names that would become legends of today. And you had a women's basketball team that was coached by a woman from my home state of Tennessee in Pat Head Summit. And everybody says Pat Summit, but where I grew up, everybody said Pat Head Summit. And she was the goddess of basketball. Really was, especially for us in that area. She was she was one of the winningest basketball coaches, men or women. She was one of the winningest basketball coaches. And so I grew up loving women's basketball. I don't, when they had the WNBA come around, I didn't pay attention to it. It wasn't Lady Balls. And then Candace Parker came around. And Candace Parker got me watching WNBA. Well, I'll tell you something. I didn't watch it all that often. Why? Because one, they rarely had a game that was on TV. I wasn't going out of my way to go find a game. And two, it wasn't really as enjoyable as college basketball. Well, moved 20 years in the future after Candace Parker did all the amazing things that she did. And we had an Iowa basketball player, and as a person who studies history, quite a bit of history, whether it's sports, whether it's, regular history, I love history. Iowa women's basketball has been a big deal for almost 100 years. They used to play a form of basketball, 6-and-6 basketball. They had six forwards, uh, or three forwards, three guards. Much different game. But Iowa was the home of women's basketball, and it was a big deal. Some of the first professional basketball players way back when, before the WNBA, were from Iowa. Now, that league didn't last at all, but Iowa's a big deal. But Caitlin Clark started getting the attention of everybody. And hey, I watch women's college basketball because I want to see how University of Tennessee is going to do against them, and I saw a little bit of Caitlin Clark in college, and I went, "Wow, this is someone who is amazing." And I can see why people are paying attention to her. Plus, she didn't talk politics. She didn't talk a bunch of garbage. She just talked basketball. She was basketball. There wasn't a lot of BS around her story. She was playing basketball, sort of along the lines of when Michael Jordan made the comment that Republicans buy shoes too. This is the kind of attitude that can draw in people. Why? Because we want the casuals, like what I am, and like I'm sure some of you are, just want watch a game get played. They don't want to hear a bunch of drama. One of the reasons why I got turned off of pro players so often in so many of the different leagues, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, is because I kept hearing these millionaires claiming they're not getting paid enough money when they're millionaires from playing something. Whereas, as a redneck, I'm watching folks that are growing food that are going bankrupt trying to grow food for people. So you're telling me that somebody that's playing a sport should get paid more than somebody who's providing food? No, that just, or the fact that you've got folks where I'm from that are making parts for cars that are having to work overtime just to be able to afford life. when you turn on a game, you're not wanting to hear drama. You're not wanting to see drama on the basketball court. And the WNBA has not been able to fix that problem. Now, I'm sure that most people are going to listen to this and get a little annoyed that I'm taking so long, but I really want to put this out there. As a Pathead Summit fan, as a Lady Vols fan, I don't care about UConn. I've started listening to a guy called Mick. I'm sure some of y'all have heard this feller. He's from Ireland. He talks women's basketball. I also listen to Adrian Ross. Me and her share a love of Pathead Summit. But Mick talks sports or ball or whatever his channel is. He's talked about the Yukon tax. Well, I remember a time before Yukon women's basketball was even anything. I could have cared less about Yukon's women's basketball. Well, I guess it was Gene Oriamo who came to Pathead Summit and said, "We want to start having a regular basketball game against y'all." And so she did, up until she started disagreeing with what he was doing there at UConn. He got full of himself and he became a big name. Well, she got fed up with him. So they stopped playing basketball for a while until this past year when they came to Knoxville and got beat. I still don't like Gene Oriamo. I still don't like UConn. Okay, Paige Beckers, great basketball player. I think that Paige Beckers is a really great basketball player. But, and Diana Taurasi was a great basketball player. All these different players, they were great basketball players, but they went to UConn. I could care less. But that's an important thing within the WNBA. But the ones of us that aren't fans of UConn, we don't care. For that matter, when we turn on a basketball game, and you tell me if you agree or disagree, we don't want to hear or see officials that are on the court doing fake calls or not making calls that they should be calling because you've got players that are getting physical when they shouldn't be getting physical. And this isn't just Beaver games. You take a look at what's her name, Dejanay Carrington. This woman is yanking people down by her hair and not getting called for it. This lends the casuals, this causes us casuals to go, no, I don't want to watch this. This is why those of us that have been around a little while but have stayed in the background go, okay, what in the world? It gets annoying. But those that have come in for watching the Fever, and there's a lot of y'all that have come in to watch the Fever, I am pretty certain that y'all are starting to get annoyed with this game. On top of the fact of that you have, it's a little bit better now, but you still watch these games, which for 5 minutes nobody scores a basket. It's getting better, but still, you're watching refs that are horrible. I mean, seriously, the WNBA refs are bad, and supposedly they addressed this at the beginning or in the preseason, but really, it didn't work. And that is causing people to, all across the internet, go, we're fed up with this. I see comments in different people's videos, and y'all are getting fed up with this, it seems. This shows that the WNBA just doesn't care. They're wanting to pay the Yukon tax. They don't care what the refs do because the refs aren't doing anything. And they don't seem to care about anything but the politics of whatever's going on. This needs to be fixed because People like me will turn off the game again. And that's going to cause the games to be taken off the air. I enjoyed that I could turn on the TV this weekend and watch a couple of games. I watched the Chicago Sky game. That was barely watchable. And then I watched the Fever game. And it was a decent game until, well, calls weren't made, and then there were phantom calls made. The world. What in the world are you doing, WNBA? You have to embrace the casual fans, or you're going to go back to being in a situation where your value is plummeted to the point that nobody cares about you. But I want to hear what y'all have to say about that. Now, this is just a backwoods redneck who grew up watching the career of Michael Jeffrey Jordan, who I still am fascinated with, who grew up watching Larry Bird, Charles Barkley, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul Jabbar. I got to see the end of Dr. J's career. This is somebody who watched the women's basketball go from being something that, well, was pretty much ignored to barely getting out of that. I mean, at least in the NCAA, people are watching it, but it's not a good look right now for the WNBA. They have people coming in, and the WNBA is ignoring the fans. They should be embracing the fever. They shouldn't be protecting the fever. It should be, hey, if the fever mess up, fine. They get their punishment for what they have to do. The take foul. That so many people got annoyed with how Angel Reese was fouled by Caitlin Clark. Well, it was a common foul. Quit feeding into that it was anything more than a regular foul that you see even in the men's game. It wasn't personal, it was basketball. But on the other hand, you're not giving fouls to people that are yanking hair. You're not giving fouls to people who are slapping people in the face. And yes, that has happened. You have to embrace these new fans, WNBA. If you don't embrace fans, then you're going to not be relevant because it's the fans that are going to bring you money. It's the fans that are going to cause you to be elevated. Right now, the NBA, the NFL are both, you keep hearing they're losing people watching. They're not having as many people paying attention to them. Well, it's because they embrace things that cause people to go, I don't care. Casual fans are where you make your money. Casual fans are where you get to the point that you can become relevant. When I was a kid, those 80% of people who barely watched the NBA, they did it because of Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, and you were either in one of two camps when it came to those, and that was how life was outside of the cities that had a basketball team. Yes, we knew that Dr. J existed. We knew that Kareem Abdul Jabbar existed. We knew that Dominique Wilkins existed. We knew Moses Malone existed, but we didn't care. Why? Because the folks in backwoods Tennessee, the folks that are in the middle of nowhere in Texas, the folks that are in the Rocky Mountains don't care. They care about, I want to relax after a long day of work. I want to pop open a beer, or I want to I want to sip on some good whiskey and I just want to watch some sports and relax. WNBA does not seem to understand that mentality. They don't understand that Caitlin Clark is just as important as Candace Parker is, and they don't seem to understand that that most of us don't care about Gene Oriamo and Yukon Huskies. I still don't care about them, other than the fact that everybody seems to in the WNBA. We don't care. What we care about is turning on something that we can relax to and not end up having to get mad because the refs are horrible and we have to wait 5 minutes before anybody on either team scores a basket. You need to embrace the fans that are there just to relax and enjoy sports because this country, that is our pastime. Most of us don't care how much you're getting paid. No, most of us don't care about your personal life. We care about turning on the TV and having an hour or two of relaxing. But hey, that's just my thoughts. This has been Paul with Redneck Sports. Y'all have a good day now. Bye.
I want to thank you for watching my video. And if you like what you saw, like, subscribe, and comment. Y'all have a good day now.